Hello my friends and welcome to the channel. So in this one we are going to look at JavaScript variables, and basically there are three ways that in JavaScript that you can name variables. So there is var, there's let, and const. Okay, so we're going to look at the difference between these three variable naming methods. Okay, so before 2015 we only had var. Okay, and if you have ever done anything with JavaScript, you know about variables. So var really is a way we can declare variables. So the way you use it is you say var. So supposing I wanted to declare a variable called name, and I'm going to set that variable to a string, and I'm going to say Zeno. Okay, so this is a simple way of declaring a variable. So if I do console.log and then I say name and save that, and I'm going to run it inside of my code editor. Okay, so basically within my code editor I can actually view the output of my JavaScript file. So if I click on run here, you see here that we have Zeno. That's from this console.log. Now the thing about var, using the var keyword to name a variable, is that it can be both global and function scoped. Okay, but that's not even what we're even interested in for now. What we're interested in is the fact that var can be redeclared and updated. So basically I can come down here and say Zeno. Okay, so by saying var name again, I'm redeclaring it, and then I can update the value. So I can change this to John and save. And if I run the code one more time, you see here that the variable has changed to John. Okay, so that's for the var. Well, it can also be inside of a, so maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, just come down here, and I'm just going to write an if statement. So I'll say if true, right, then I'm going to redeclare the variable name. So I'll copy that and paste it here. Okay, and I'm going to change this to do. Okay, and then I'll save, and let's run this one more time, and you see here that we've changed the variable now to do. Okay, so although these two variables exist as global scope right outside, and this is within a function scope or a block scope, it still affects this variable that is named outside. Okay, so really var is a very unreliable way of naming variables. Okay, because you can change the variables anytime. Okay, and if you make if you are working on a very big project, okay, and you make the mistake of changing a variable that has already been declared before, you're going to run into a lot of problems debugging that code. Okay, so that's one of the things that brought us into naming variable with let and const, okay, from ES 2015. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to comment all of this out, and let's get and see let. So I'll come here, add a comment and say let. Okay, so now the let keyword for naming variable is essentially block scoped. Okay, and you can not redeclare the variable, although you can update it. In other words, you can update the value of the variable. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create a variable, and I'm just going to call that variable greeting. Okay, so I'll say let greet. Okay, that should be small letter. So I'll say greet, and I'll set it to equal to the string hello. Okay, and I'm just going to do that, and let's come down here and console.log, and I'll just say greet. Okay, if I save that, and I think I'll just clear the terminal now so we can have, okay, and you see here we have hello. Okay, so now we've created a variable named greet and set it to hello. Now when I say the let variable cannot be redeclared, let me show you what that means. So if I come and I duplicate this and I say hello again, right, and I save, let's run the code, and you see here we get a syntax error, and it says here that identifier greet has already been declared. Okay, so you cannot redeclare it. However, you can update the value. Okay, so it can be updated but it cannot be redeclared. So let me come here, right, and I'll save that. I'm going to clear the terminal because I just want everything to be clean, And if I run this one more time, you see here now that we have hello again. So right here we see that we have updated the value of the variable greet, but we cannot redeclare it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write an if statement. Okay, so I'll say if true, okay, and if true is always going to be true. Okay, so that's basically, I just want to create a block, and basically a block is just anything, any piece of code within these curly braces. Okay, so I just want to show you the concept of the let variable in the block scope. Okay, so basically if you have, like, you can use a variable with the same name inside of different blocks, okay, and they will not affect each other. So if I come here, like, let me create a variable here. So I'll come here and say let name, right, be equal to, and I'm just going to say Zeno one more time. By the way, that's my name, right? And I'll just come down here and do console.log name. Okay, and I'll save that. I'm just going to get rid of the greet console, so maybe I should even put it up here. So I'll Control X and come here. Okay, and then I'll get rid of it, so we have just one. So this is a block, right? And I would run this. Okay, and you see here we have Zeno. So the same principles of the fact that the let variable cannot be redeclared also applies here. But what I want to show you now is that if I come here, I copy this, or I just duplicate it down, and then, so this is another block, right? Remember I said that a block of code is anything inside of these curly braces. Okay, so if I come here and I say let name, and I change this to John, and then I save, right? So there are two console.log. The first one is for Zeno and the second one is for John. So I'm going to run the code, and you see here that we have Zeno and John. That is because the let variable is block scoped. Okay, so you can use the same variable name inside of different blocks and it will not affect each other. Okay, so that's one thing I also wanted you to know about the let variable. Okay, however, like I said, the principles of the fact that you cannot redeclare it still applies, whether it's inside of a block, whether it's block scope, or whether it's a global scope. Okay, all right, so now let's talk about const. Okay, so I'll talk about const, and let me just add a comment here, and I think I'll just comment all of these. Okay, and I'll say const. All right, so the way we declare const variable is we use the word const. Okay, so basically when you use the word const, you are simply saying that the variable is constant. Okay, so it maintains in other words, you cannot redeclare it, you cannot update it, so it's constant. Okay, so let me show you what that means. So I'm going to say const, and I'll say greet, and I'll set it to equal to a string, and let's just do hello to keep things simple. Okay, and then I'll come down here and let's do console.log, and let's say greet and save. Okay, and if we clear the terminal first and run, you see we have the oh sorry, I need to comment this out. Sorry, let me just quickly do that and save and clear the terminal and run that. So what's going on here? Okay, just a minute. I just need to make sure that everything. I think there's a problem with my extension. I'm not quite sure what the problem is. Let me just find out and I'll be back. All right, so everything works fine now. Okay, so let me just run this one more time. So I gotta click here and you see we have hello. Okay, So now when you use the const keyword to set a variable, you cannot redeclare, you cannot rename. So let me show you what I mean. So if I come down here and say hello again and save, and I try to run the code, you see we get an error that identifier greet has already been declared, so you cannot redeclare it. Okay, so now let's see if we can update the value of the greet variable. So I'll come here, I'll save, I'll clear the terminal, and then I'll run the code, and you see we get an error, okay, that assignment to a constant variable. So because we use the const keyword, you cannot reassign the value of the variable. Okay, so you only use the const keyword when you don't want that variable to change. Okay, when you don't want the value of that variable to change. Okay, or you don't want any kind of change in the variable in any way. Okay, so but then there is one more thing I need to probably show you, and that is if we use the const keyword for objects. Okay, so maybe what I'll do is I would comment. Okay, I'll just comment everything out here, right? And I'm going to come down here and create a greet object. So I'll say const, and I'll say greet, and I'll set it to be equal to open curly braces. So this is how we create objects. It's const, and I'll set a message, and this message is just going to be hello. Let's add a comma here, and let's come down and just say who are we greeting. So let's just say person, and I'm just going to set that person to John. So John. All right, I'll save. Now if you come down here and you say greet, so let me say greet dot message, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to hello again, just to make it different. Now if I come here and I do a console.log and I say greet.message, so what do you think I'm going to get? Okay, so let me save that, and let me clear the terminal, and I'll run that code, and you see here we're getting hello again. Okay, so when you're using the const keyword for an object, to create an object, right, you can update the properties of that object. Okay, so message and person are the object properties in this case. Okay, so basically let me do a run through of like a summary of all what we've learned. So before ES 2015 we had the var keyword for naming variables or for declaring variables, and then we see that the var keyword is not very reliable because you can redeclare it, you can reassign values to it at any point. Okay, and it can break down your application. It can cause a bug if you mistakenly redeclare a variable that you've used before. Okay, so the value changes and all of that. And then we saw the let keyword where we can update the value, but we cannot redeclare the variable. Okay, and then we looked at the const keyword, which serves as a constant variable. In other words, you cannot redeclare the variable, you cannot change the value of the variable. However, when the const keyword is used to create an object, you can change the value of the properties inside of that object. Okay, so essentially that's a run through for the var, let, and const keyword. Okay, all right, thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure you do, and see you in another video.